James was killed directly by the enemy doing his job.
Go! Come on, come on, come on!
He laid his gun down to try to save his brother.
Even as the months went on, there was a part of me that still didn't believe James was dead.
That's just a really, really dark place to be.
There is no way to describe the new state of normal that these family members face.
I want you to know it's from the very bottom of my heart. I'm going to use every bit of determination to bring a piece of him home.
I never, ever thought in a million years he would pick that picture.
So unlike any other portrait that I've ever done and probably will ever do again.
I'm a little skeptical about how he would capture his essence.
This little guy right here is like...
So on behalf of all of us, here's your son, our American hero, Petty Officer 3rd Class, James Layton. As an artist, this is the best way I know how to honor America's heroes, to celebrate their lives, and to bring them back home to their families. I'm Phil Taylor. I paint portraits of America's fallen soldiers.
The one thing I'm going to walk away with today is to make sure that I discover who he is. You know, where he hailed from, the family that raised him, what made such a unique individual.
Artist Phil Taylor is traveling through California's Central Valley, about an hour north of San Francisco, to learn more about Navy Corpsman James Layton. He's on his way to meet James's father, Brent, who requested the portrait.
And this is a big moment, but when I go in there and meet Brent and spend time and get to be able to see James's personal effects, it's going to be powerful.
Phil will use what he learns about James to paint a portrait that captures the essence of this fallen hero.
Phil, it's only great to meet you. How was your trip?
It was not too bad. I pulled up to that simple home. I mean, pretty much like most guys and girls who serve for our country. They come from, you know, humble backgrounds.
I see some pretty cool stuff there.
Yeah, that's a beauty. No, that's a pretty handsome case you got there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's so much more to James, obviously, but this really kind of highlights some of his achievements and basically what he stood for. And obviously, he's got some ribbons that you can see up here. Got the combat action ribbon. War on Terror, Afghan campaign, the NATO, and some of them are obviously above and beyond your Purple Heart. The Bronze Star with the
Right. The V, of course, stands for valor.
particularly like this picture here. I love the smile in the eyes. That
Wow.
You can really see his character in that one.
Dakota Meyer took that.
Dakota Meyer took that picture?
Yeah. Dakota Meyer received the Medal of Honor for that day. James was killed. James was friends with Dakota Meyer. He loved James very much. This is James's dress whites. He was in the hospital corps, and you'll see his insignia there with the caduceus.
James, a Navy medic, fought for the opportunity to become a corpsman so he could fight alongside Marines on the front lines and care for their wounded.
The only time you'll see a Navy personnel wearing a Marine uniform, your corpsman, going to the green side, as the Navy calls it.
James endured 7 weeks of boot camp to learn to fight like a Marine. In 2009, he deployed to Afghanistan, where the Taliban attacked his unit daily.
In battle, Marines call out for God, Mom, and a corpsman.
A corpsman's a bad dude that's willing to be there in the worst hour. You know, I have to make you a personal pledge, and I want you to know it's from the very bottom of my heart. I'm going to use every bit of determination to ensure that we bring him back to life, and as much as possible, with such as a portrait could do, try to bring a piece of him home to you and the family. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Phil Taylor next heads to meet James's mother, Nikki, at James's high school.
I think the high school was the perfect setting to meet Nikki. There was a connection there.
How do you feel being here today?
It's different. I have pictures of us right there after his graduation in his cap and gown. I haven't come back to Ascalon since he died. I just started recovering from the loss of my son.
I find people their most natural, open, and real when they are exactly what Nikki was, which is vulnerable and hurt and injured.
His father and I divorced when he was 9.
9.
So John was 6, Jesse was 4, and Jordan was newborn.
Here's James. He really helps Mommy out.
He took on a very protective, okay, I'm gonna take care of the family type role at a very young age. James was helping me do everything. He did it so much, I had to make him slow down. I had to make him go outside. I had to make him go play. He just automatically assumed that role.
Yeah, it's like a motivation that was a natural part of his core.
He is my little best friend, my little bud.
Do you remember the last time that you had with him here at home?
Yeah, the last time he came home, he called ahead of time, and he said he got his mission. So he's being sent home for 2 weeks before he goes to Afghanistan. I think James knew that there was a possibility that he wouldn't come back. He had to be in LA to fly back to Afghanistan. I had to drive him at 3 in the morning to the airport. When we got to the hotel, I spent a little bit of time with him. He gave me a hug, and I left. And I was walking down the hall, and you know what it's like when someone's looking at you, and you know it. And I turned around, and he was staring at me, and I could tell by the look on his face, he was concerned. So I ran back up the hall, and I gave him another hug, and I just whispered in his ear, please just tell me where you're gonna be. And he said, I can't, Mom, but I promise I'll call. And I love you, and don't worry, I'll be back. In the portrait, I really want to see his essence.
Hi, nice to meet you, sir.
His gentleness.
Yes.
And his firmness. And
Yes.
his love.
Yes.
Capture his spirit. My baby, the way my baby is.
Cool. He turned into
A man.
quite a
I know,
man.
He's a man.
Especially
I
those
still
last
call him my
2 years.
baby.
No, he is your baby and always will be.
Right.
But he's so much more even than that, which is
Right.
a beautiful thing. He's a symbol of what makes this country great, and that is to step up for the good of someone else so that they can live a
Yes.
full life and a healthy life, even if it costs you your own. And to me, that's how you define a hero.
Coming up,
I'm not only inspired, I'm committed to ensure that she will be healed and helped through this process. I've formed a strategy to be able to capture all those characteristics that will bring their son back to life.
near Dallas, Texas, artist Phil Taylor returns to his studio. He'll start the portrait of fallen soldier James Layton, while his wife Lisa plans the presentation to his parents.
Phil's goal is to bring life to a painting so that he can give what life he's been able to put on canvas back to the family. We basically consider ourselves as a service to the families.
Phil returned from visiting James's parents, knowing exactly which picture he'd paint.
James Layton folder
Thank you very much.
with that picture you wanted.
And I know you have your reservations.
I do. Are you sure?
Well, tell me your reservations. What's the problem?
Well, it's totally different than anything you've ever done, so.
I know, exactly. And that's why I love it. The photograph of James, for me, was so attractive just simply by his character. The kicker was to find out that Dakota took that picture. He saw and caught James in such a perfect image. There's like a 3D effect. He's got his hands forward, he's in the turret. I love the whole piece. When I'm done, it's gonna be magical.
Okay, so get to work.
Thank you, baby. I really appreciate it.
I love you.
I love you too, babe. Thank you. All right, Mr. Layton, it's you and me now, baby. The beauty of the portraits is you get a young man like this, you get the private time with him, but yet you get to reveal him and enjoy that moment
And to me, that's the beauty of the whole project. Somebody's got to render aid. The corpsman's the person that's willing to comfort someone and to bring them to a place of healing in their worst hour. So he was all that and more.
Phil contacts Dakota Meyer, the Marine who took the photo Phil is painting, to learn more about James in combat. Dakota was one of 2 servicemen who received the Medal of Honor in the battle where James lost his life.
How you doing?
Good, you?
Good to see you.
You too.
So, is there a personal perception or something that you remember about James that would help in my journey to remember him?
James was a laid-back kind of guy, the funny guy who really, you couldn't get him upset about much. Probably called me dude more than he ever called me by my rank. You know what I mean? Such a good guy. I mean, focused on his job and, you know, really a good doc.
There's that one picture in the turret of the Humvee.
I took that picture right before we were leaving for Afghanistan, and, you know, it was about the time we all started connecting and stuff, and you know, it was just him up there messing around, you know, laughing and doing whatever James did, you know?
Yeah, well, it's perfect. I don't want to take too much of your time, but do you mind kind of going to that day? Can you go back and kind of share with me what happened?
You know, the Ganjgal mission with the village elders had asked us to come in. They were going to renounce themselves from the Taliban. The Ganjgal Valley was kind of like a horseshoe bowl, all high ground surrounding it. When we walked into that valley, you were at the disadvantage in every single way possible. James' role was, he was the corpsman for the team that was in the front, that was going up to search a few houses in the back, and they would go and establish an overwatch position while the meeting was going on the back side of the village.
Taliban fighters ambushed the Marines before the meeting with village elders could take place.
He was killed directly by the enemy, doing his job, performing for his nation, as he definitely gave his life trying to help another.
The military had come to my house, and they refused to tell my children what it was about. They said they had to tell me first. And my children called me on my cell phone, and they were crying. I told them not to worry. He could just be hurt. He's probably just hurt.
That day, James's mom had called me and said, "You need to get to the house." I knew what had happened. That scenario that you always hear of, you know, there's Navy officers out there and a chaplain. He was my firstborn. First thing you remember is all the funny things he did growing up.
Even though I kind of felt it in my heart, I didn't want to believe that he was really gone. But when your child dies, you just know. You lose a piece of something. And you know. And I knew. I just didn't want to believe it. James was a wonderful, wonderful spirit on this earth. He was great. And I had him. God gave him to me.
Coming up, Phil finishes his portrait of American hero James Layton.
So unlike any other portrait that I've ever done, and probably will ever do again.
Phil Taylor puts the finishing touches on the portrait of James Layton, a Navy corpsman who died while caring for a Marine unit in Afghanistan.
This was truly a blessing. Navy Corpsman James Layton, I love you, my brother. I hope I've made your family happy. You certainly have made me happy. You're all signed, you're ready to go, my friend. Just take a look at you. Boy, if that doesn't bring comfort and make them smile, I don't know what would.
Lisa packs James's portrait for the journey to Napa Valley, California, where it will be presented to the family at Chateau Montelena, a historic vineyard not far from where James grew up.
The founder of the winery served in the Navy, so there is a Navy connection. They really wanted us to come, and that's why we were presenting James' portrait there.
Being Chateau Montelena. It sets us up to be in the most beautiful environment. Wow, man, that is awesome.
Oh, that's pretty.
This is home base
Very
right here.
nice.
That is fantastic. Got the American flag blowing right there.
So there's supposed to be a screen with a projector and a microphone and sound.
You need all that?
Yes.
We got that. That's not.
I just want to make sure that that's why I came early, so that I make sure in case there was a problem.
I'm gonna have the two sailors coming this way. They're gonna come in, boom, like this. They're gonna come sideways, we're gonna build up, boom, I'm gonna center up. I'm gonna plant the easel.
The family of James Layton, they have arrived. We are waiting for a lot of the family's guests that they've invited to come.
This is beautiful. Wow.
Brent is very excited. He's the one who actually requested the portrait. He's already emailed me and asked me, what picture did you choose? And I gracefully told him that, it's a surprise. And for Nikki, I think it's going to be more emotional. Just this year, she's been able to get to a place where she can talk about it and process a little bit. Hi. I'm
Brandon, he's my son too.
Lisa. She's James' little brother.
How are you doing? I'm Phil Taylor.
I didn't know Phil. He didn't know my son. And I was a little skeptical about how he would capture his essence, his spirit. And after meeting with him and talking with him, I know that he does it from the soul. He does it for the right reasons.
Working with Nikki and feeling her when I went to visit her, you could sense that she was not as strong and was trying to recover. I value this as probably one of the most important moments that she's going to go through since she had to lay her boy to rest.
Thank you for giving us the privilege here at Chateau Montelena to honor your son today. It is our hope that in some very small way, we can help heal your pain, and thank you on behalf of our country for your son's service.
How about a hand clap for James Layton and his family? I mean, that's what it's all about right there. Would you please rise for the entrance of the portrait of Petty Officer 3rd Class James Layton?
Coming up.
So on behalf of all of us, here's your son, our American hero, Petty Officer 3rd Class James Layton.
In Napa Valley, California, the parents of Navy Corpsman James Layton are about to receive Phil Taylor's portrait of their fallen son.
These American heroes are restored back to life, if you will, in a portrait, in an attempt to try to bring them home. So on behalf of all of us, here's your son, our American hero, Petty Officer 3rd Class James Layton.
Seeing the portrait of James was like seeing James. I feel like he's right here with me. The response that I gave, I was not expecting that. I knew I would get emotional, but I didn't realize it would be that realistic.
I could feel her almost collapse. Her knees buckled up on the stage. I felt like I was holding her up. It was probably one of the most electric and emotional times I've had doing a presentation. I looked out and so many people were crying. And it was, that was a hard one.
I was crying and
Yeah.
you were crying, and we feel like it was successful, and
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I loved it.
our hearts are full.
It was just like I was looking at James, and Although it was a sad moment, it was overpowered by happiness. So it's almost a holy moment, if you will. It's something that's sacred.
I think they didn't expect that image because they look at my work and they expect the same vertical face on, eyes forward. I told Lisa, this has to be the one.
I was wrong, you were right.
Yeah, and it was. It was the right shot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was totally right.
I'll get up in the morning and have coffee with him. I feel like he's right there. All the pictures I have, and nothing compares to that portrait. It's beautiful. My son is beautiful.
The following day, Nikki and Brent, together with James's brother and half-brother, hang Corpsman Layton's portrait.
That is realistic.
This one shows his true character.
Yeah.
I took that picture that day. We were just messing around, and he was probably telling me how bad he was in one of his smart aleck remarks, you know, just being funny.
He looks happy.
It's a picture showing that he was proud of what he was doing.
Yeah. So I'm not sad when I look at it. I'm happy.
Good.
Brush of Honor is dedicated to the brave men and women who serve in our nation's military and to the families of the